this, the Fiddlesticks, we could have maybe seen, other regions definitely would have gone that route.
Yeah, those are banned on the Korean tournament server, actually. Yeah, we don't have those yet. No, but we see it so infrequently that it feels like that sometimes. As we're going to start off with the Karma ban once again. I think that Karma's getting the respect she deserves nowadays, which is nice to see. She can essentially just by herself shore up a bottom lane, regardless of what's happening down there.
The ban on the Twisted Fate here. The T1 dealt with the Rise pick very well last game, and I think that's part of why we did see the Dread Hecarim pick. As Chronicler was mentioning, try to get ahead early, especially on the top side of the map, but it did not happen. And we did see high priority for Kana's Jace, right? And see if he gets the opportunity to get the Jace or the Graves this time around. T1 banned it last game. It is open at the moment, as is the Rise. Not anymore. See what this final ban will be.
Interesting. They don't want to play it themselves. Does leave the Lee Sin open, which was banned in game number 1 in that exact slot. And T1 on red side, they banned Graves and Zeri in the opposite order. We'll see if they do ban away the Graves here once again.
I would like to see it. It's Kana's best champion. Take away the Yuumi instead here. Very interesting pivots for T1, leaving the Lee Sin open. But the Jin Zhao is so strong right now too that, both being open means you don't feel fantastic just blinding this. You don't feel fantastic about blinding this either, but I don't think that's the intention.
It's one of the champs that don't exist.
NONGSHIM is the only team really first picking Graves right now, although we have seen a few teams do it, but it will be the Lee Sin. And I don't think T1 will necessarily deny the Graves pick either here. By the way, Owner, the best Poppy player in our tournament, the first one to really pick it up. Even though it's fallen off big time, I'd say maybe he's the one to pick it. Jace coming through first instead.
Yeah, the Jace coming out is very interesting. I mean, if you're expecting the Graves, Graves has dealt with Jaces in his time. I think he would be okay in that matchup. Looks like they want to pick the Jinx, kind of get ahead of if an Aphelios would get picked here. Doesn't look like Gumayusi wants to play that this time around.
I think this is a pretty easy Graves angle for Kana. And the question becomes where you go from there in terms of the AD carry. You're playing into long range with the Jinx here as NONGSHIM. Could see a Karma angle instead if they don't want to put the onus on to Kana carrying with one of his strong side picks. It's obviously an awkward matchup into the Jace too, very high variance. Although you mentioned being a little bit more comfortable than a lot of other picks. They'll take the Gragas, however. And Karma is banned, actually. That's something that slipped my mind there. So that's not the angle they will be taking. I was going to say there's a lot of ways to handle the Jinx lane if you do have the Karma, but they do not.
They cannot, indeed.
Nope.
And the Gragas is different for sure. Means that they're not going to be playing around Kana. And this, with the Azir pick coming through, and a big laugh and a chuckle from BDD. He says, "You guys better play around me this game."
It is going to be very dangerous, the amount of engage that NONGSHIM have between the Lee Sin, the Gragas, and the Azir. First Rift Herald fight, kill pressure into whatever Faker picks here very likely is going to be very strong. I still think there's an angle.
Zoe.
Yeah, I feel like there's an angle for Zoe. I think there's an angle for Ahri again, actually, here as well. Well, there's the Poppy I was talking about, into shutting down Azir shuffles to the, Gragas, the Lee Sin. It's a great pick overall, even though it's been less popular this week in particular.
Popular? Because her name is Poppy. Get it?
Yeah. I don't know, I just have to do a little fake snicker every time we get puns here at the LCK. In terms of the follow-up here, obviously you're removing AD carries. The ban here on the Aphelios can ban the Jhin. You can even ban Xayah. You just don't want NONGSHIM to actually have follow-up scaling here with a comp that already has good engage.
Yeah, Xayah would be interesting. I mean, the lethality Xayah we've seen, even when you're behind on range, can get work done. But against the Jace and the Jinx, I feel like I wouldn't be comfortable with it. But it's definitely an option, especially if the Jhin does get banned away here.
Yeah, I think the Jhin is the safest ban right now. Also, Ezreal is a good ban here too, I would say. because that's going to give you a lot of range behind this. Scales up very well.
Won't be able though.
Yeah, won't be able to compete with obviously the Jace poke, but as we saw earlier on tonight, sometimes it's just more consistent damage. Jin's taken away. It will just be the boring Tahm Kench ban, probably. Not the greatest comp to play Tahm Kench into, though. With all the turn that NONGSHIM themselves have right now around objectives. Corki. I forgot about this champion. And we always forget, like, when we get this late in the draft, it's like, oh, yes, that one is very dangerous.
Yeah, should be gone by now. And they do get rid of it, as this fourth pick Ahri that we've been seeing around here. And it is going to be locked in.
I like the Ahri into the Lee Sin Azir, because you can avoid that with your ultimate. You don't have to flash necessarily if you play it right, if you can react quickly enough. As this is a very unique pick we've seen a lot into Karma lanes. We've seen it into the Caitlyn, but into Jinx here, it's not a common response so far this season in the LCK, but it will be where Ghost goes with this one. Might just be an angle here for something like the Nautilus now. Rakan, also similar idea with this. You have a lot of kill pressure.
What about Nasus, though?
No, I don't think that'll be it.
Darius?
No.
Nico?
Rel, though, yes. Rel, yes. Yes, Rel. Rel is a good one. You have so much engaged if you have this.
Yeah, it's
oh
very much
God.
for the lane with the Poppy around. I mean, there's so many supports that he would love to play that have engaged, but Poppy exists, and it's like, like, what am I going to play? I don't know. They all feel bad.
There's been a lot of talk about this making its return into the support role, the support echo on the bottom side for Keria. I think he's just shouting out all those rumblings, but he'll probably play something a little bit more standard here. I don't want to jinx it, though.
See what he did there.
Is Leona.
Her name is Powder, though, by the way.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Arcane.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. For those of you who haven't watched episode 1 of Arcane, my bad.
Well,
watch Keria just play the Jinx instead. It's like, what? What does it mean? We might have a little swap bug.
Yeah, that's what it probably means, realistically.
I believe. I think that Keria could do it.
I mean, I think he could. I think Guma, he'd be fine, but...
Oh, there we go. Nice.
They just forgot to click on it. Somebody was like, oh, sorry, my bad. I need to click on the swap. But, look, in terms of these comps, the Tristana is going to be fine for lane. You have a lot of power there. But it doesn't... If it doesn't get ahead, it does fall off big time in terms of what your comp is trying to accomplish otherwise. And into the already very high range Jace. You know, NONGSHIM need to have a lot of control over the map, similar to how T1 did, right? They need to be threatening nonstop, looking to force fights, looking to control mid-turret, for example. Because if you don't, with this composition to walk into what NONGSHIM, or rather what T1 are running here, is very dangerous because it's got poke, but it also has strong engage. It has denial for the Lee Sin in this Poppy. And Keria can both attack and defend. I know there's always the he attack and he can defend, right? That meme or whatever. But with the Leona here, you have so many options as T1. I do like the final pick.
Yeah. Well, here we go, guys. We're jumping onto the Rift for game number 2. NONGSHIM up against T1. First one was relatively muted until about 36 minutes in. But we got there. Let's see what happens in this one. Definitely some fire lanes, especially the bottom side. I think we might see some action. Although Ghost, not necessarily known as the most aggressive of AD carry players, and by that I mean he's definitely in the bottom 5 most aggressive, if you will.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he uses it. I feel like as Tristana, you definitely want to get value out of the rocket jump and trading and stuff like that.
Leona makes it a little bit tougher to do that, but if you use it as kind of a counter engage, can be very strong. And obviously it depends on summoners and how the early laning goes, etc. But it's interesting you mentioned that about Ghost because we have seen an evolution of a lot of our top 80 carries from 2021. Like Ruler playing Ziggs, for example, earlier this season was just something we never thought we'd see or something that we'd say. And how selfishly, or selflessly, yeah, I should say, he's been playing this season compared to last. Faker's just going for this Foxfire start.
He does it again.
It's Foxfire works really well with Electrocute, so you can trade really well with it early if your opponent's not expecting it, especially.
Effort says no ward, no cry. It's gonna go down.
700
Wow.
games, we hit it.
There you go, 700 in the LCK. Congratulations to the best player ever play. Faker on top of the LCK rankings here in terms of number of games, not super surprising.
Depth with his stint in the LPL, a very close second regardless. Had he stayed the whole time, he'd be in it himself very soon, if not already. As BD only played the Azir twice so far this season. The first 2 games were traded 1-1. So it'll be his 3rd time on it. Again, so commonly paired with the Lee Sin. So the Ahri pickup here I think is a great answer. And it also allows T1 to play oppressively around the map.
Yeah. First pick here for Owner's Poppy. Curious about how he's going to do on this one. I remember, though, you were talking about the 1-win, 1-loss for BDD's Azir. As you can see here, so far, Jinx is more meta and better. Other than that, you know, I remember the one game that BDD lost on the Azir. He was trying so hard to carry, and he was actually getting some good plays going. Like, that's one of those things that just feels inevitable. Like, he's going to have a great game on Azir regardless of what you do. So I like that they're going back to extreme comfort for BDD in a strong sense here.
And it's just one of the easiest ways to burn a flash from the enemy mid laner, then look for the follow-up ult with the Lee Sin, because it's a guaranteed kill if you can hit the kick after you get the Emperor's Divide. It's very common. You can lane well against anyone, basically. Like, Azir just outranges so well almost every single champion in the meta and can harass in the first 3 levels, force an early back, etc. As you can kind of see here, threatening Faker a little bit. You can do the same thing again when Dread hits level 6 and then look for a pick, but Ahri will obviously have that mobility with her ultimate. I do really feel like the Azir pick has gone underappreciated by a lot of AD carries in this meta. It's one of the only mid
carries.
Oh, sorry, excuse me, mid laners.
That would be interesting.
But yes, sorry, mid laners in the LCK, because it is one that gives you a lot of opportunity with the Lee Sin pick. As we're going to see Dread ward hop over here. Zayas has no idea.
Yeah, he's waiting for it. Waiting for the moment. Kana can, of course, try to engage with the body slam. Look for that play. The attack already going in. There's the flash body slam. As easy as you would like. First blood going to be handed over to Dread as he picks that up.
Very nice play here around the fact that the Jace is going to be pushing super hard in the early game. We'll get the punish off. Early kill for Lee Sin, who, again, is going to have similar pressure in the mid lane post 6. So it's a great start for him. Owner just trying to counter jungle a little bit here to make up for this. 17 seconds before the Herald, or rather Drake, saying the opposite of everything, before the Drake comes up. And that will be, you know, obviously set up here based around the vision that T1 have. I'm going to back and time the return for their potential take of that. See what NONGSHIM's idea is in terms of fighting over that. Because Azir, like I mentioned in the early game, is so strong at setting up engages. Same with the Gragas.
Yeah, like how Zeus pulls the lane here. Just keep it a little bit safer. You know, he doesn't have any vision, so he wants to just be safer. Not necessarily going to be frozen because Kana has teleport.
Trades back, Kana does, to set up the health bar being low enough. Is able to get the flash and the kill. So, as you mentioned, Zeus is going to have to pull the wave back and play a little bit safer. Keria sees level 6, is going to come up here and be a little bit of a bodyguard for Faker because he doesn't have 6 yet. And is not going to be able to, without flash, avoid the Emperor's Divide. Meanwhile, Owner taking his own trip up here, but a little bit late.
Yeah, now he might miss the kill on that ward. Yeah, he will. That's going to stand for another 20 seconds or so.
They have bot push here and a little bit of extra prio, but looking for the kill instead of actually turning on Drake, because it's a portal combat's going to happen in the push.
Oh, boy. Nautilus almost lost some health.
Yeah.
I think he lost about 5.
Noodle fight.
Yeah.
Once again, Dread takes a trip up here. Doesn't have 6 yet.
Uh-oh. Zeus is in a lot of trouble because he does not have flash. Nagu is there for the execute. Dread picks up a second kill. This is, you know, kind of what we were calling for in game number 1. Just put some pressure on these lanes.
Yeah, the snowball is rolling pretty hard here for NONGSHIM. And unfortunately for Zeus, once again, overextending, trying to use this Jace in its early part of the lane matchup and getting punished really hard. As Faker's going to roam wide here to get a control ward, as it looks like they want to turn this extra top pressure in the backing Kana into first Drake, into taking a rotation over to the Herald. Like, want to maybe try to time this one out, but don't know if they realistically have enough control just yet. There's no teleport, you know, to be used, right? Because this is the new teleport, right? For Unleashed, like you can't, no one could come over here. Kana did have it, but they just don't have enough control over this wave right now to look for this. And Faker doesn't even have enough control over mid after that big roam down bottom to get the extra wards. I mean, they have deep vision. They can't use it, is basically what I'm trying to say bottom line.
Yeah, BDD is very much going to have priority in this mid lane in this matchup. Faker did go for the tier 2 boots here very early on, cooldown boots. And it just means that he's not going to have a lot of wave clearing power either. You can see the same happen there on the side of BDD on the Azir, but he has Doran's Ring, and he's going to push a little bit better on the Azir regardless. So he's having a bit of a fun time there overall. His owner is level 6. Maybe trying to set up here against Dread. He's going to knock him into the wall. This is a Lee Sin, but oh, it's going to be denied. He has to flash out of that one.
That's part of the problem with Lee Sin into the Poppy. Really difficult to escape in moments like this. So forces his flash out. And now it's a Lee Sin who is going to really struggle to get the right kind of kick in this team fight. But still, don't underestimate the power of this cast, the power of the Emperor's Divide here in this fight. And with already the Tristana in position here, NONGSHIM 100% want to fight over this. T1 should be very careful about how they choose to engage, or if they want to fight at all. And try to cut the Gragas off before the fight happens. That's one way to approach this.
They're traveling as a squad, which I like. Nobody's really in a position to get picked off, especially against all of this pick on the side of NONGSHIM. So they will regroup with their allies. NONGSHIM in a spot here where Kana's on the flank, you know, looking for it. Hex Flash for Keria. He's trying to frontline, looking for an engage here. He's going to find Kana in the front. They burst him 100-0, and the knockup comes in, but it's taken by the Poppy of all of them. And in the front line, Keria going to soak up a bunch more of that damage. T1, you already got the objective. NONGSHIM looking for a little bit more. So you can see Effort maybe thinking about a follow-up hook, but again, this is a Poppy. The smite is going to come down, and another charm is going to land. Faker just getting it down as Dread goes in, and maybe a little bit of frustration. He nearly takes out Zeus, but not quite going to have... Oh, he's actually going to kill Faker. I take that totally back.
Look at Ghost's health here. Wants to play on
wants
Aguma.
it.
He wants it so bad, but he's not going to get it. Ooh.
Seems like he got a whiff of what might happen.
Kana is here, does not have cast, but does have flash.
Yeah, he's dead.
Body slam.
No flash. That's a free kill for Kana.
It's just so much greed in this exchange for both teams. T1 get the eye, decide to push the issue. Faker gets a charm, so it feels like you are pushing the issue in your favor, right? Is the engage here onto Kana was fantastic, right? That was the idea before the Herald fight started, is okay, let's try to take this Gragas out. Then BDD, they completely avoid his Emperor's Divide, like spread like the Red Sea here, and he is stuck on the outside of this fight with no health. But they decide to turn around again to like, BDD can't fight. We have the longer damage here. We have a great front line. And Effort flashes out, he dies, but then they stay a little bit too long as Dread comes in here and takes a kill. Still trading up here as T1, and they did get the eye.
Yeah, I was so surprised that he survived through all of that.
And then Guma just insane greeds for a wave up here. And Kana, yeah, we've seen this one already. Body Slam connects, doesn't have flash, picks up 500 gold. So definitely a little bit more action this game. We had 8 kills total last game, and this time 11 minutes in, we're already up there.
Yeah. Gotten there. And on the back of that, NONGSHIM do have the Infernal Drake as well. Keria tries to set this up, but a nice cask from the side of Kana. as nobody's going down. And nobody's in the bottom side, so we're just going to be trading turrets here, essentially. Keria going to engage again. But again, it's just Kana.
The problem is that this is a, you know, it's a pushing Tristana versus a Jinx here. As if they get a pick, I think this is 100% worth it for T1.
Kana has his flash. He did not want to use it. Finally will. And just barely is going to get out of dodge. I mean, he was really cutting it close on that one.
So at the end of the day, you know, T1 will get an extra charge here, it looks like, but they don't get a kill. They get a flash.
Well, you say that,
well,
but Owner's right here over the wall. He's got his Hex Flash, gets on in there.
Effort?
In goes Effort. He's just going to throw his stopwatch away, maybe even his life at the end of it all. Yeah, the damage is there. That's another kill. As BDD, he's making his way in. You can tell he is just salivating at the idea of shuffling onto all three of them, but it is not going to happen. As Dread will avoid the charm here, so started off decently well for NONGSHIM,
well,
but
yeah.
now T1 are really having their cake and eating it too.
Well, there's a charm.
Yeah.
Keria's got
Dread,
stuff.
yeah, he has the kick. There it is, the execution, and the action never ends.
Yeah, I want to take a back seat in this game because, like, put me in the crowd for this one. I don't know. Everything that seems like it's going to happen, every prediction that we can make, and every setup for a fight just ends up getting so extended. And we're seeing this is a bloodbath. Emotions are high, tensions are high in this second game. We're already 3 kills now over what we had last game. But so many of these exchanges, I mean, it just doesn't end.
Owner, I mean, Dread is really fed right now. Like, he is taking names. You cannot fight into him, and Gumayusi's like, here, have me too. Goes on in, and NONGSHIM are absolutely going to eat that up.
We are a few of these errors from T1 away from this game just being like, you know, insurmountable lead levels off the rails because you've now fed 5 kills over to the Lee Sin. 5 with an assist added in there as well. He's gonna have a big item buy when he goes back. Everything that else happened on the map was extra charge happened topside, but you traded your Rift Herald advantage for a full set of plates for the Tristana and a whole turret, which was completely unpunished. You stayed 3 top for a really long time, so lost control of the middle of the map for a little bit there, lost control of vision for a little bit. Then, yes, you got some kills, but you stayed too long. Dread picks up several. There was that mid skirmish. Like, it looked like, oh, okay, yeah, it's looking like T1 finally got the better of this with Effort, like, dying there on the top side, but then disaster strikes. As they look for the pick onto Dread, he does get away here just fine. Then he finds his opportunity to turn this one around. He has Gore Drinker, sees his chance to kick Faker. Faker does not have Q, only has Charm, but he could just follow through, does flash, or rather, does flash forward for this, and then Keria does not actually have the ability to stop him. And then Owner over here is like,
oh yeah, I'm fine.
I mean, you're Poppy, but it's Dread who's very, very far ahead. His kick damage is, or the Q damage is starting to get pretty insane. Guma's caught. You don't have enough vision here or control of the map as T1 to be standing anywhere near this.
So, wild and wacky start to this one. And we're 15 minutes in. NONGSHIM with about 2,000 gold in the lead. You can see a lot of that comes in the mid lane, actually, as here comes Keria. Tries to land that onto Ghost, but the follow-up is lackluster. Owner not quite able to join up, and it is Tristana after all, so Ghost does get a bunch of space between him and the enemy.
Topside push here is really strong for NONGSHIM at the same time, so if they can clear this wave, they're going to be feeling very happy about this. Dread has a kick potential.
Ooh, not quite able to make it happen, but the charm comes down. Dread playing with fire.
Did not have flash. Dread did not there, so it would have been very scary. Takes Fakers away. So both the top push here and the mid push are abated for now. I like every time I want to make an analytical point, I'm like, please wait a second. Make sure there's not an insane fight.
The Rift Herald's available.
Oh, stupid sweaty you, Valdez.
Keria's over the wall. He's going to miss that one, but Owner does not miss. Into the wall, there's a steadfast presence, and Dread is not getting out this time, and guess who gets the kill and the shutdown? It's Gumayusi on Jinx.
And he's the one on T1's side who's holding all the coin. We're not done yet.
There we go. Nice dredge line, but Faker already got the damage done, right? He got the pick, and he will be taken out. But T1, they got that front line. They get the engage. BDD not able to shuffle anything, and Guma is just going wild. We're flashing under the turret, and they're going to take down everybody except BDD.
I'm not entirely sure how much shutdown gold there was on Guma, if any, but it all goes to the Nautilus, so his flash forward there for some extra gold to pick up this rapid-fire cannon is going to be rewarded because the money goes to the support in the end. As we watch this catch on the Dread, it's a really nice Hex Flash, and yes, he does avoid the Zenith Blade. Thunder traps him into the wall here. It's a 4v1 scenario. No one here to deal for him. Is kind of caught, isolated from the rest of his team. And then this is another play from Faker, over the wall to look for a Kana pick, and it works out, but he does die for it here. But unfortunately, NONGSHIM, in order to turn this around, have to go so far forward. And Owner, man, he's playing this Poppy so well.
I think Zeus knocked the Tristana out of her jump, and then Owner flashed on her with the Steadfast Presence. And, you know, Faker, he died, but he also died because Tristana, Ghost in this case, was staying there trying to DPS him down. And so his positioning wasn't fantastic, and T1 were immediately able to use their incredible mechanics to shut that down. So,
exactly.
You know?
You're so far forward there to try to get those punishes as NONGSHIM that you get punished yourself. It's only a 600k, or 600 gold lead here for NONGSHIM.
Yeah.
As they're in a position now to farm up, right? Scale up with the Azir. But the relevance of this Tristana, who's 2-1 versus a 6-kill Jinx, who is already scaling way better, has a rapid-fire cannon for a little bit of extra range and extra pick with this composition. You're already feeling pretty good as T1 here against a NONGSHIM that's kind of sitting back and trying to farm up the other parts of this. It's all about the engage here for NONGSHIM now.
This is a rough spot for them. I mean, it's the same position, right? Right over this wall. NONGSHIM do not have vision over the wall. They knew they were there, and Faker and Keria together, their powers combined. I mean, we've seen it so many times here for T1. They make it happen. Really nicely done. They get this Rift Herald as well.
And Kana has to be the one who's at the front to set up these fights, right? Because especially in moments like this where Zeus actually takes away 2/3 of BDD's health bar, he can't realistically hope to Emperor's Divide and look for a fight here by himself. He needs the first engage from Kana, the cast, right, the body slam, these things. And every time Kana's at the front trying to set these up and be the initiation tank, he gets charmed by Faker. As you could still do this as Tristana, you could still look for the explosive 1v1. Not going to happen in this case. But I will say this is another look for Kana, right? When he's playing the Gragas, when he's playing a more defensive initiation tank style, it's not his strength. It's not his fortitude, right? This is not where you see Kana find the most success, which is why you see these Graves bans, the Jace priority from T1. It's just, I don't want to say it's a bad look for Kana, but it's definitely not what he's most comfortable with. And Faker has punished him several times now. He's 1-4-5 this game. He is trying to do his job. He's trying to set up these fights. He's trying to be the initiation that Gragas offers you in this comp. But you always have to be aware of where Faker is. If you don't have vision, you can't be that far up.
Kana, he's trying to make this play happen because he has a lot of help from behind. Keria just going to flash out of that one, but that's a kill into Ghost, who is quietly 3-1. Got a little bit caught in the last fight, but that is forgivable.
Faker.
As up here on the top side, that's just going to be Kana going down. Keria and Faker again. The two of them, I mean, it's like
we're looking for an inhibitor.
Tic-tac-toe.
We're looking for an inhibitor pre-20 minutes here. Now, on the other side of things, NONGSHIM are looking for the same, but they're not going to be able to win this trade. They're not even going to be able to get that inhibitor turret.
Yeah.
Well, they have a big wave here, but T1 can respond. No teleport here, though, for Faker.
They're just going to cut him off. They say, yeah, we can trade this up, basically.
Yeah, you can't get out of here.
Yeah.
BDD has no teleport. And he's got his own turret, at least, to try to
They
back
know
up.
it. Jonah Strong is keeping it secret. Here we go. As Gumayusi is kind of leading the charge. Got to be a little bit careful about that. And it looks like they will get out in the end. Still a good trade at the end of the day for T1 because they don't lose their inhibitor. And they will take the lead.
T1 get the mid inhibitor. They have a lot of cryo now, a lot of control. As Kana starts us off brilliantly, right? He's got the body slam into the cast. His teammates are here. They have a lot of explosive power. This is what Gragas can do in a side lane. This is what he could do in a team fight. But then he goes over here to try to clear this ward and is just completely obliterated. Now, part of this is because they want to try to draw attention away from the split push that's happening. But the consequence of this is that there's a big push mid. So more permanent damage here for T1. Now, I know there's a lot of discussion about what happens when an inhibitor dies pre-20 minutes. Aren't you just giving free farm to the enemy team? At this level, when you're down 2 Drakes as T1, you want that prio. You want that guaranteed setup. You want to have that pressure so you can get these upcoming Drakes, especially with the timing here of the Drake coming up in 1 minute. You're going to have that basically guaranteed as a result. You can side lane on the bottom side a little bit more freely. I think this is a huge win for T1.
Yeah, it's definitely an important point to make. And, I mean, they're going to be stacking up the Mountain Drakes. We'll see how NONGSHIM try to fight with this. Now, the fact that it's the mid inhibitor and not like the top inhibitor or something means that it's a bit closer to home, a bit closer to the objectives, I should say, for NONGSHIM, where they can push out as a team. But it might not matter if Faker's just going to charm you once again. It is onto the Nautilus, and they spend a lot to try to get on into him. Ghost and BDD just shelling out damage into Keria.
Great
Both
heal.
supports will survive.
The heal from Gumusi keeps him alive. Effort had to flash there, is going to get out, so support surviving as you say. But T1, having this extra prio means their position on this Drake is basically guaranteed. And if you're trying to walk into this with no vision as NONGSHIM, you're going to get charmed, you're going to get picked. Faker comes up here to make sure they're not going to try to sneak away a Baron, make this a trade. There's no opportunity here. It's moves like this and moments like this that we've seen from T1. We've seen it from Dom1 and even KT Rolster earlier today. When you have a split objective like this, prio isn't everything. You do have to make sure that it's not a trade, and they do exactly that. T1 still on the back foot in terms of objective control right now. But I think the biggest issue for NONGSHIM is that their AD carry is not going to be as strong as the Jinx in a few moments' time. I mean, Jinx already surpassed in terms of gold and has some great items coming through. But T1's front to back on top of their poke is going to be awesome. Like, they have both poke, pick, and long-term damage. I guess it's 3 things more than a both. They just need to be able to skate around the initiation, because that's one thing they don't have outside of the Poppy and the Leona here, is the ability to long-range engage. If Keria goes in, there's great disengage, and then NONGSHIM have awesome turn, right? With the Emperor's Divide, Body Slam, Cask, etc., the Nautilus that can turn on this. It's not that they don't have initiation, I should say, for T1, but the way that NONGSHIM can counter it means it feels like it's hard to initiate. It's very difficult to pull it off.
Yeah. In terms of these two compositions butting heads,
yeah,
that will be a little bit of an issue. We do have the 3 items finished for Guma. He does pick up the IE. More defensive builds here on Ghost, as the Phantom Dancer and the Bloodthirster after picking up the Kraken Slayer, whereas Guma has the Gale Force for some more mobility, which I do like when you're dealing with Gragas, Lee Sin, Nautilus, and Azir. You need to have some way to survive.
Very much similar to last game is how this mid-game is going to play out, where T1 trying to control every objective fight around the fact that NONGSHIM have this Gragas, this Azir, so if they can just force these potential picks with this Ahri and then threaten objectives, force NONGSHIM to be on the defensive, you feel very good about your ability to win every upcoming Drake fight if you can have that prio. And so far, because of this mid inhibitor, they have. Once that respawns in 35 seconds, it gets a little bit tougher. But look at this. Faker is, I think, miles ahead of every other Ahri we've seen so far here in the LCK, because his team is playing around him and they're looking for picks over and over again.
Guma has to flash.
But what happens next?
Yeah, they will be baited into a rough spot. The cleanse is there, but you only get 1 cleanse as the damage finally comes through, and Ahri is so good at following up onto these engages. The Ahri-Leona combo comes through once again, and Guma, although he was the one getting dove on, he acted as bait in the end.
You have so much pick with this comp if your opponent gets greedy or overextends and doesn't have vision of where Ahri is, where the Leona is. They're going to try to race this one down.
They know where Dread is. So Keria just going to go over the wall. He's just tracking Dread around as the Q tries to go in, and see you later, Mr. Lee Sin. So the Baron will go the way of T1, but Keria has to give his life for this one. Doesn't look like NONGSHIM will be able to follow up on this.
2 minutes left until the next Drake does spawn. NONGSHIM will try to take this opportunity at least to grab a turret, but actually with this teleport coming through, not 100% sure if they'll be able to. It is just a lone Ahri, but she'll buy some time. T1 are forcing these potential picks and controlling the map by just roaming as a 2 or 3 man unit non-stop. And Zeus is catching waves, right? He's farming up. Look at how much more side laning he's been able to do than Kana, who has to stick with his team. He's 80 CS up, and again, Kana has died several times trying to handle some of this pressure, so that's part of why he's down on CS. But the Jace is getting stronger and stronger. The Jinx is already strong. And if NONGSHIM lose BDD before a crucial objective because he's trying to walk over, then you lose out so much. It's like they've they force this so hard that Ghost flashed for it.
Ghost is the initiation in this case.
Well, Ghost is relevance in this game is moments like this where he can blow up a single target, right? Like he's not a front-to-back team fighting Tristan and not really against a comp like what T1 is running. So he's trying to flash for a kill here because he's like, I need to be relevant, I need to get this kill, I need to wipe this 80 carry off the map so maybe we can fight for an objective. But this pick immediately calls out by Carrier at the end of that. Let's go to Baron, let's go to Baron. This pick leads to a Baron, which leads to more map control for T1 and more fishing potential for this Ahri.
Yeah. For now, Faker is in mid. They do want to do a little bit of a split push, as they want Zeus to do the majority of the poking. As another big Poppy ultimate comes in, and they're going to isolate Kana once again, just not able to get away from this. As they're trying to defend here on the inner turret, maybe should have just waited at the inhibitor because, again, there's just so many tools. For T1, especially when they're ahead, they can kind of do this without getting punished. You know, just throw out ability after ability.
PDD, no flash now.
Yeah, they still have the Spirit Rush here on Faker. He's able to get into that back line, and there is the damage, but is popped away by the Tristana. Used his third charge, but the Zeus damage is a little bit too much. Dread is desperately trying to fight back here, but the Jinx still living. It's BDD versus Guma right now, essentially, in terms of big sustained damage, but Guma is out of mana.
Oh, the charm is nearly there.
Oh, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, he's down.
Gale Force, at the end of the day.
Faker is just vintage Faker right now in this game.
Oh, man. Kana, he's trying so hard, but he can't. Nearly takes out Faker. And it won't happen. Not yet. BDD, he's getting angry. He's going to get one, and this will open up a couple of kills, actually. Feels worth, but all the while, okay, Faker will go down as well. Mid lane is being pushed. The inhibitor did go down. As a bit of a messy one there. T1 staying for a long time.
T1 are going to give Soul Point over with this. I think that it looked for a moment like NONGSHIM, you can't continue just feeding in one by one into these charms from Faker, but he ran out of mana, right? They ran out of sustain, they ran out of health bars. Like eventually, NONGSHIM will win the war of attrition because they have their base is closer as. Okay, they're just trying to delay this. Zeus is coming over, but it's not going to work out. But now you've given over Soul Point, as I mentioned, to NONGSHIM because you stayed too long as T1. And Faker was having so many fantastic moments here. This starts off with Owners Engage, knocks back Ghost and his partner there. Bye-bye, see you later. Kana's dead again. He's doing his job, by the way. Like Kana, this is not like on Kana. This is just a really nice engage from Owner. And then things get a little bit messy down here because T1 try to force. Faker rotates down, looks for the pick, doesn't actually get it. And so his health bar is very low. He comes back in. And then T1, at this point, okay, you didn't get the inhibitors. It's probably time to leave. And yet, the way that NONGSHIM chase gives them the opportunity to almost grab 4 picks. Like, Kana comes back in 4 seconds here to almost die again. Guma takes out the Nautilus. And at this point, like, just take your win. Like, take your W, T1. Well, they stay a little bit too long, which gives over Soul Point.
Yeah, it does in the end, and of course all 3 of these members from T1 do die. So Dread, BDD especially, he's the one that sets this up from behind. He has to give his life for it, but I think it's worth it in the end, especially with the Soul Point, as you mentioned. NONGSHIM, I mean, they don't have much hope in this game, but they'll take anything they can get at this point, right? And, you know, another Mountain Drake as well. Right, I guess their first Mountain Drake, but it'll be nice for their front line to try to survive a little bit so Kana doesn't just get blown up by Ahri and Jace once again.
Just a scrappy fight like this is the kind of fight that T1 enjoys. It gave them a little bit more control over the bottom side of the map. They traded back a lot of gold into their pockets too. Like, that was a gold trade up for them despite the loss of the Infernal Soul Point, like you said. And it's the first Mountain Drake for NONGSHIM, but it is relevant. But T1 are still the ones with the heavier wallets at this point in time. And, you know, scrappy fights like this are exactly what Faker wants with this Ahri pick. And now he's got his Death Cap online, built a little bit more utility this time with the Zonius first. Now he's hitting the big damage. And he doesn't need, you know, a Void Staff in this game if he's going to be able to chain CC the Gragas to death every single time. You know, you like it if you can get it after this, and he will build it eventually. But he just hasn't needed it yet, as Dread is on the long con flank.
He is like, he's coming back from vacation, you know? He's like on the arriving flight right now. Like, where even is he?
He's been gone for 2 seasons. It's like guest starring Dread. Remember that character from 4 seasons ago? Like,
He's back
in the TV show. Like, okay, Keria.
You see, they're trying to force this. They want Dread's position to matter, and it might. They're going to catch Guma. Immediately, they burst down the Jinx as they're looking for more. Keria's going in. I don't know about that. Now they're going to get on top of Jace here as Faker is desperately trying to shore this up. T1 only get the Nautilus. NONGSHIM immediately with that flank. They're going to be able to pick up this Baron.
And this is like the 17th time in the last 2 weeks Dread has had one of these, but he pulls it off this time as Faker is going to go down. Dread has so many flank opportunities with this team. They play around his flanks, but sometimes it looks very silly when he does it. Sometimes it goes off, they lose an objective, or he can't make the flank work, or he's spotted. This time he did it very well. He executed it perfectly. He's punishing a little bit of the overextending we're seeing from T1 while they're fishing for these picks. And he comes in and gets the most important target. Gumusi is just sent into the open arms of Effort and crew, is picked up by BDD, and there's no turn here anymore from T1. You just don't have the damage to support this fight. Faker is trying his damnedest over here on the side, but a charm isn't useful if there's no damage to follow it up. As we watch Dread's first-person view, instant Q after the kick, and we're going to Baron after this. So well played, and finally Dread gets the credit he's deserved for these long con flanks. He loves playing this style, and it pays off big time this time. And T1 will lose complete control over the map for the first time in this second game.
Yeah, it's happening. You talked about the Mountain Soul point, and it was almost feeling like it wouldn't matter, right? They just take the Mountain Soul point, and then eventually T1 just, you know, they regroup and they push and win eventually. But that's not the case now. We're going up against NONGSHIM with Baron buff, and they've got late game carries as well. They have an Azir, they have a Tristana. I mean, these are guys that can easily carry in the late game. And we're just on the side of NONGSHIM here. We're just setting up a siege before this Mountain Drake does come in. As you mentioned, total vision control of the map right now for NONGSHIM.
And I want to highlight why that matters. Faker can't pick or fish for these charms anymore if they know where he is. Like, see how easy it is to avoid this one in this case? Like, he had such a limited range to where he could actually pull this play off. And unfortunately for him, you know, now his ult's on cooldown, looks for the charm here onto the Nautilus, and
at least he flashed it. I mean,
yeah, this is looking like guaranteed soul point because soul rather, excuse me, with the soul point they have, and there's no counter map play.
This is a flanking Jace. I mean, this isn't necessarily what we're used to.
T1 are at least able to get those wards cleared off the top side of the map. There's no Baron to fight for or anything like that, but at least they have an angle, right, for this Leona and Ahri to maybe find some sort of backline access. Oh, he threads the needle on the Ghost.
That is a insane amount of damage. This is up against Baron buff right now. As the steadfast presence is there, he's gonna deny the escape for Effort, who is the only one to go down so far. Owner is tracked through the jungle, and NONGSHIM say, nope, no chances taken. We are taking this to the extreme late game. We have Mountain Soul. We should have the advantage, especially with no objectives on the map.
Just can't believe that these shock blasts are connecting with very little vision, with Baron buff minions, you know, pushing a wave, and Zeus is still finding these angles to hit these shock blasts from. Like, that is just insane. And then, of course, Nautilus once again is caught by Faker here, and these are the angles you have to take. Like, Faker is always threatening something with this Ahri, and I think that's been the biggest difference between his Ahri and some of the other ones we've seen here in the LCK, is just that Faker is never just sidelining and farming a boring out game. Like, I mean, he is right now because there's nothing else to do, but generally speaking, he's always keeping his opponents scared. He's forcing them to group as 2, 3, 4 oftentimes, because if you don't and you don't have vision, he will find you. So clearing vision becomes a lot more difficult. The way they played game 1 was so brilliant around this type of play, which is why, even though, yes, not a lot happened, quote unquote, so much happened because T1 were always looking for these proactive plays. Now, they're in a really rough spot here, but they kept all their inhibitors alive. Now that the Baron buff is gone, T1 just go back to clearing vision and setting up for these objectives. The 4-minute timer here is going to feel like an eternity for LCK fans, but T1 are going to use that time to clean up the mess that NONGSHIM just put all over the Rift.
Yeah, and it's really going to come down to execution here more than anything else, I think. Both sides have enough damage here in the late game to win a team fight if you get the jump on the other side, right? I think, you know, a charm goes on to the right person, even like Kana, you take him out, that's good enough. But on the other side, a dredge line comes in, BDD gets a big engage, and that's enough, right? They've already shown they can get some big flanks off. And I think I give the small edge here to NONGSHIM with the Mountain Soul buff, of course. Gonna just give them that ability to stick around and tank a lot more of that damage on the side of T1. So see how that does work for them, as NONGSHIM are absolutely back in this game, and a lot of the vision has been cleared away, but a lot of it hasn't as well. So
yeah,
see how it goes.
The other things to talk about with the Mountain Soul is you've got Mountain Soul plus 2 stopwatches on Dread and BDD, and you have the insane, you know, Gargoyle Stone Plate build here for Kana. So picking him is going to be a lot harder than it has in the past when he's actually been at the front trying to sub for engages and gets, you know, charmed and then hit by owner and then blown up, right? Carrier follows through. Like, that's not going to happen. He won't die as easily this time. Plus, now he has 2 Mountain Drakes and the Soul Shield on top of him. The stopwatches that are coming through here, too, means that it's very difficult to get those picks, especially without Shock Blasts setting it up. So Zayas is going to have to keep hitting these accelerated Shock Blasts into the proper targets. Target selection is everything. He's going to have to keep hitting the back line. Like that shot he had on Ghost earlier, the top of the mid lane, that's something that doesn't come around but once in a while unless you're hitting these every time when you're a god. So Zayas is going to have to be a god. He's going to have to hit these consistently because you can't charm any of these frontline tanks. You know, you really are even struggling against Effort, who has his Zonias completed. Like, you have to somehow either charm the backline with a really nice flank, wrap around, or it's going to be Shock Blast doing the work. T1 really on the back foot here because of this.
It's definitely an issue right now. We're seeing a lot of completed builds. BDD just completing his build. I think it's a little bit cheaper compared to Faker's. Also, he has some extra kills and some extra farm, about 50 up. I liked Carrier's build. He went double Kindle Gem and just has space for the wards.
No vision here, no great access for the Shock Blast because they don't know where the carries are standing. You saw that last one just didn't do anything into the shield of the Mountain Soul. Dread's angle, nice.
Yeah, they don't have all the information as the cask is going to stop. Owner flashes the wall. It's not enough, and he immediately burns down. Carrier as well is going to be gobbled up by the side of NONGSHIM. As the charm does come in, they take out the Gragas. Keep in mind, Guma and Faker and Zayas, they're all still alive. As another zap onto Dread. And T1 will not stand down. It's 4v3, though, for NONGSHIM. And the Elder's about to spawn.
They need a really nice pick, but there's just no angle. They look for Dread. He's got a res. He's got a stopwatch.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you almost got him to 1/3 health, but that's all you could do, though. NONGSHIM have so much control. I don't know if we're going to see an Elder fight here. I think they're going to try to push to end it.
I don't know if
Kana has teleport in 25.
This is going to be hard. I mean, it's 10 seconds on the last 2 guys from T1. They have an insane amount of wave clear as well.
They don't look for the pick. Even though they had BDD's ult here, they had the Lee Sin kick, they're not going to actually try to push it. The positioning is too good, like you said. Respawns are coming through. As the cast onto Owner was so beautiful, and Kana does die right after this at the front line, as we've seen so many times. I feel like this guy is doing his job so well, but he's getting punished for it, and his score line does not actually indicate how well he's played this game. As this is it. It's all down to the Elder as we hit the 40-minute mark. Everybody's up. Faker's got teleport.
Where have I seen this before?
Couldn't be the LCK. No way.
Definitely the LCK. Yeah. Here we go. We're getting this going. We have Faker coming up on the right side. He's got that elixir pumping right now.
Super Minions pushing into mid. There's a timer on this for T1.
Oh, Dread is there, and they're going to pick him. And he has his GA and the stopwatch. Can he get out of this, though? The kick onto Owner, and both junglers get extremely low. Carrier in the back line. They got to get Dread here, but it's not looking good. Faker is going to be taken down by the Emperor's Divide. And the hook goes down onto Guma Yusi as well. And that's going to do it. The ace comes through, and we are going to game number 3.
Dread had such a fantastic game on the Lee Sin, always where he needed to be. His flank on the Baron was what got NONGSHIM map control for the first time. They were no longer in fear of these Ahri charms and where Keria was roaming with Faker. Once he got that pick, he was basically in